So also on the card we got EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN versus Jack Hermansson. Now EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN, the reason why I like the case of him is because we've got his coach is Edmund. How do you pronounce his last name? It's a hard name to. It's Ronda Rousey's former coach, and mentor, and closest friend, and
Tarvidyan, Edmund Tarvidyan.
It's a very hard name to pronounce.
Yeah.
That's why I needed clarification. So he was a very, very questionable coach to Ronda Rousey. They believe that he was the reason for her demise because he would really hype her up and he would teach her all these boxing techniques that wasn't really like, he would teach her a lot of skills that just weren't, what's the way to put it? He would teach these skills that just did not, were good in theory, but not well in practice. And
I'd like to see this Edmund fight Joshua Fabia. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
The award,
self-awareness.
Yeah, the award for like worst coach in the MMA.
Yeah, that would be nice. Dana White wouldn't mind making that happen because he hates both of them.
Yeah, I mean understandably
I'm pretty sure Dana
so.
White blamed him for Ronda Rousey's demise as well. A lot of people did.
Yeah, I mean the Ronda's boxing wasn't
great.
It wasn't great, but she was able to get by because she was such a high level judo.
Yeah, it's very, very overrated stuff. Because there was the point where they went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then Joe Rogan said, "Oh yeah, your boxing's better, one of the best striking ever." And then Edmund said, "Oh, she could probably she spars men, she beats up men." And then I remember someone had a conversation with that. Is that true? And then there was the idea that Edmund would apparently he would force his sparring partners to go light on her or let her win closer to get up to the fight. That's what I was just told. But he was just a controversial coach because at one point he even filed for bankruptcy. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. So he filed for bankruptcy at one point, even though he was getting paid all this money. There was just things in him that just didn't add up. And then he was a very, very controlling he had a very, very controlling demeanor as well. He was, when there was the Ultimate Fighter that came on, it was mainly him calling the shots on Ronda's side. And there was even a point where he almost got into an actual fight with Misha Tate's husband.
Really?
Yeah. So on the season of The Ultimate Fighter, there was a bit of back and forth between the two. And then there was one point where Misha Tate's husband put out a tweet. I'm not sure what it was specifically, but it was something to do with Ronda Rousey, and then Edmund just went mad at him, and he said, well, and then he was following him around talking, and then he was like, hey, man, and then Edmund at one point said, hey, if you want to settle this, let's go in the cage, and he goes, you know what, let's go in the fucking cage, let's go, it's right there, let's go, and he wants to pull him in, and then Ronda gets in between the two of them, says, do it at the right time, don't do it here, do it at the right time. He's like, he wants to go right now, what's wrong right now? No, do it at the right time. And then, so on.
Well, Edmund's undefeated, 2-0 as an MMA fighter.
Really?
Yeah.
Who did he fight?
Some bums, I guess.
Yeah, some bums again.
Some bums.
Yeah. But now he's got Edmund
Shahbazyan. I mean,
he's a little prodigy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's kind of, I mean, it might be unfair, our criticism with Edmund, because as the coach, he wasn't really given his due when Ronda was doing really well.
Yeah.
And then when she did really bad, and she kind of had a really big ego, but fragile.
Yeah.
Because when it got popped, her performances dipped. And then to be fair, she fought Holly Holm and she fought Amanda Nunes. Not really the worst fighters in the world to lose, especially not Amanda, right?
Yeah, considering Amanda hasn't lost.
But essentially, the ego popped. And that's because she was built up by her coach in that way. But no one gave Edmund his due when, she was winning world titles and things like that. It was just that they thought it was due to Ronda's performance. With EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN, this is a good way to show if he's a good head coach, because he's actually a really young guy, 23 years old, hot prospect. Obviously not an already great fighter, which is what Ronda was before, they met. right? With Edmen, I believe he's 11-1, being he was undefeated before he fought Derek Brunson. I mean, I take Jack Hermansson in this fight. I think EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN is really good on the feet, and if he has if he uses his length really well against Hermansson, that could create issues. But we know there's a hole in his game, and for Ronda, the big hole was striking, right? Not and head movement. Like there's the video where it's where Edmund the coach is going head movement, and it's that oh shit, I should move my head. No shit, Sherlock. Like, but it seems like some fundamentals weren't there, and then with EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN, it looked like some fundamentals weren't there on the ground because Brunson didn't do much damage. In terms of strikes, how many he threw on the ground, it was just control, right? He did just barely enough so that he didn't get stood up. And he never tried to advance position. But EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN never tried to... there seems to be a hole in the opposite direction, which is grappling. And I think with wrestling and grappling, I think that's a hole in his game. And I think being 23, he can learn really fast.
Yeah.
I think he'll learn really, really fast. It's just, can he learn that quickly, since it wasn't that long ago that he fought Derek Brunson?
True. And also, it's a big win for him because every fight you learn something new. And then you got the young upcoming superstar against a veteran. And then Jack Hermansson has got the experience. He's probably got a bigger skill set. That's why I feel like this could be a win for Jack Hermansson. But at the same time, EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN, this is a win all around for him, because you're a young guy, bright future ahead of you, got all these skills that you need to learn, and what better way to put him against a good veteran? But not even that, but if he wins, he shoots up quite a bit up the ladder. Jack Hermansson's in the top 10. EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN.
Very, we said this last time, very far discrepancy in terms of... it's just weird.
Fights like this where you got one guy fighting like quite a few spaces down, it's a gamble.
It's not exactly good for Jack. He's taking a lot of risk.
Well, because if Jack wins, he doesn't really get like a big name on his resume. But if he loses so much more.
Well, that was like Hamzat fighting Leon Edwards.
Yeah,
it doesn't really, and same with Bilal fighting Leon Edwards. Bilal can beat Leon Edwards and immediately be in title contention. But does he deserve it? Probably not, right? But that's what happens when people accept a fight for someone that's very far below them. And that might mean that Marvin's very... sorry, not Marvin. Jack Hermansson's very, very keen. He's very confident in his skills. I think that Jack Hermansson will submit EDMEN SHAHBAZYAN. I think he'll submit him in the